All of us are persuaded in one way or another to live like we live. Here's a good word to jot down: association. Be very careful of your associations. We're going to talk a little later about financial independence and, caring for your resources. Here's what we've discovered. People that are around people that spend all they make, chances are excellent, what? They spend all they make. It's just part of that association. Once you're sort of in it, you sort of do what everyone else does. So here's the key to association. Number one is limited association. Some people you can spend, a few hours with, but not a few days. Some you can spend a few days, but not a lifetime. Some you can spend a little time, but not a lot of time. Limit your associations because of the influence. All of us have to be around people, that have a variety of their own, beliefs and what they do that influences us or, is there. It's in our presence wherever we go. But here's the whole key. Some of it's limited association. Here's the next one. This one is kind of severe, and that is discontinue association. Sometimes you have to say in an association, is it causing me more harm than good? And sometimes the time finally comes where you have to part ways just because the association is not to your benefit, for the rest of your life. And then here's the one you've engaged in this weekend: expanded association. Get around people who have good ideas to share. Get around people who have a good story to share. One of the great benefits of being here this weekend is a chance for all of you to meet each other. Share testimonials, share ideas, share your reactions to what's been taught, to the ideas that's been presented. Share some common experiences you might have had in your life, and you go home with this bag full of testimonials and the inspiration that comes from it. This kind of expanded association is so valuable. Whenever there's an occasion, and it can fit into your schedule of time and money, make sure you go where there are people of like interest, right? Ready for good ideas. Never, too successful to learn some more. This is good environment. Expanded association. Next, we're affected by events, dramatic events or worldwide events or home events or personal events. Some events affect us all. Do any of you remember the missile crisis? Hey, there's a few of us go back that far, right? Come on. Do I have a little company here? Anybody remember the missile crisis? Okay, I got a little company here. Khrushchev has his missiles on the way to Cuba. John Kennedy finds out about it and calls and says, "Mr. Chairman of the Communist Party, Russia, you cannot put your missiles in Cuba." And Khrushchev says, "Young Mr. President, you don't understand. This is Nikita Khrushchev, and we are the Soviet Union, and we will put our missiles wherever we please." And that started an incredible crisis known as the missile crisis. John Kennedy said, "Mr. Khrushchev, listen carefully. You can't put your missiles 90 miles from Florida." And Mr. Khrushchev said, "Well, Mr. President, I hate to inform you, but the missiles are already on the way." And John Kennedy said, "Mr. Khrushchev, we will not let those missiles arrive." Next conversation. Nikita Khrushchev says, "Mr. President, you don't understand. If you touch those missiles that are on the way, it means war." Last conversation. John Kennedy calls, says, "Mr. Khrushchev, I must inform you, sir, in all seriousness. If it is war, Russia will cease to exist. That's a heck of a conversation, isn't it? And Dean Rusk of the State Department at the time, I think, put it well, said, Kennedy and Khrushchev were staring each other down, and fortunately for all of us, Khrushchev blinked and finally agreed to turn around and take his missiles back home. And the world breathed easier. Back then, some of you might remember, we were digging bomb shelters in our backyards, right? This whole thing about atomic war finally became a reality, and we were saying, wow, surely not, for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. And I'm sure that the Russian officials and Soviet Union officials and Nikita Khrushchev finally decided, for the sake of their children and their grandchildren, there was no need to have this confrontation with the United States. But it was so close. So some events affect us all. Here's number 4. We're all affected by our results, whatever they've been, the results of our errors or the results of our disciplines. Now, here's what's so staggering about being a human being. It's possible immediately upon decision to start a new program of changing results. If you're headed in a certain direction and it looks like in 5 years you're going to wind up here, and you take a look at that in 5 years and you say, yes, it looks like what I'm doing right now, if I continue doing what I'm doing now, it looks like in 5 years I will wind up here. Let's say that suddenly, on careful consideration, you decide that's not a very good place. That's not a very exciting place to arrive. Is it possible as a human being to change your destination point 5 years from now? And the answer is yes. See, that is so extraordinary. No other life form can do that. Pick a different destination in 5 years and start making plans and learn the skills and accept the disciplines and the teaching and the training and the consistency of effort and just start going in a new direction. And in 5 years from now, wind up at a totally different place than where it was assumed you were going to arrive with the old plans. Only human beings have this extraordinary ability to change the outcome, to pick a new direction and go that way, to pick a more certain place to go and read the books and attend the classes and develop the disciplines and find the people and do the business, whatever, that takes you to that new destination. So we're affected by that. Next, we're affected by knowledge. Whatever you know has brought you to where you are. What you've missed in the past, right? At this particular moment, you could have arrived at a much better place if you hadn't missed what you missed in the past. But now knowledge can turn it all around. Knowledge can start us on a new track. Knowledge can help us not only to review the past, but to peer into the future and say, would it be possible to have a more unique design for the future than what I've had in the past? And the answer to all of that is yes. So these 5 things primarily were affected by it. No, here's the 5th one. Environment, events, results, knowledge. And here's number 5, because we're going to do our goals workshop. We're affected by our dreams. Our ability to see the future and give it design. Things, places, people, career, fortune, whatever might become important to you for the balance of your life, or especially over the next 10 years. It's possible to reach into the future personally. Now, most of the time we don't do it. Here's why we don't really reach into the future.